Hello, my unamused anthropologists. I'm Mr. Church. Today we're going to be building right near drop site V9, near where people fight the Queen. Now, if you've ever wanted to have a camp down here for the utility of it, but you didn't want to build something but ugly, like a stack of stairs with a big platform on top, because that's what can't be destroyed, well, I've got a solution for you. We're going to be building a camp that can go away at the flip of a switch, but our camp radius will still be here, so no one can cock block it with their tents. And that means we can have a nice immersive camp, that our stuff will all be close and nearby for when we're fighting the Queen, but we don't want to have to repair everything every 5 seconds, because it'll be safely tucked away in the void. So what we're going to do is build a giant camp on top of a pile of carpets, but these carpets will be on top of this spike trap. Now I have this foundation here temporarily, because in order to build this foundation and this platform of rugs, we're going to want it to be up off the ground a bit so that those rugs are only sticking to other rugs and not to the ground. This will mean it'll be all one piece like this. Everything is connected to one rug, and they're all held up by the spike board trap, which when I trigger it, they all go away. Because in this game, anything that's placed on top of an item and then the item is destroyed, those items will be disappeared. They will still exist. So obviously it's simple enough. You just start with one rug on the spike board trap and you build around as much as you can. Watch the scorch beast flying in the distance at Mach speed. Pretty funny, trying to burn those calories. Anyway, you're just going to be building a giant platform as big as you really can manage, and that's going to be the radius of your whole camp. So make it as big as you need for whatever you want to fill inside it. And this can take as much time as you want. Then, once we have a big platform built out like this, I put a tent down and I started a little wall here to kind of show you what we're doing with this. And this, I got attacked by someone, but they're just a torso now and they can't hurt us. You're going to want to take this little rug or a cooking station on a little rug, and you're going to come in here and place it with a spoon facing one of these walls of the tent. We're going to make a big tent. We're going to live in a tent, but it's going to be a big, big tent. Because if I'm going to pop a tent, you know for sure that it's not going to be a little tiny little tent, right? So put that in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take another one, and this is going to be for the outside, and we're going to build the exact same thing. Simple, simple, simple. Just a little cooking station, and jam the spoon handle towards the wall of the tent, which is fine and also what they call dandy. Now, grab that and just place it somewhere. We're going to put it right on the other side of the other one, so that's going to take up the least amount of space on the inside. This is the door to go in and out of this tent, and I'll show you what I mean. You just use it, and then it puts you on the other side of it. Same with this one. Use it, and it'll put you back in on the inside of it. This is how you're going to get in and out of the tent, because we're going to cover this end of it with another tent. So first, take a flamer trap and burn the absolute shit out of this tent. This will allow you to bring your other tent much closer to this one, and we're going to try to get it like sealed off completely so there's no gaps you can't see on the outside. You might need to just place it down and then move it, which I found seemed to be a thing on the rugs quite a bit. But you can just move it where you need it until they're lined up. And then you can just repair the other one and you'll have a lined up big ass tent. Now this tent is what we're going to be living in. Now I want to stress the importance of why I'm doing this and why we're going to be living in specifically a tent. Now everything you build on top of this rug has to have support on the rug. It can't be anything that floats on its own. So you can make blueprints that'll allow you to place walls that are freestanding, which we could get on top of here if we wanted. You can float roofs. You can float stairs. So you could create a house on top of a pile of rugs like this, but when you triggered the spike board, those things wouldn't disappear because they wouldn't be supported by the rugs. So everything here, our roof, our walls, has to be supported by the rugs. So that's why we're using the tents. That's why we're using these junk walls for the exterior wall. We're going to be making kind of like a little compound or a little private fort, if you will. Imagine someone's camping and they fortified the shit out of it. That's what we're making. And so we're going to be able to make this look really scrappy and really immersive, but it's all going to go away when we flip that little spike board trap. It's all going to go away, and then nothing can just be destroyed on it. And it'll only cost us 1 wood to repair that trap, and everything will come back. And it will be awesome. I guarantee it. Just let's test it out. Every once in a while, some things do float. So every once in a while while you're building, just trigger it to make sure everything disappears. And if you're like me, you will be very good at triggering things, especially other people. And try not to do that, though. In fact, there are some things you can do to help yourself be a better person. But instead, what I try to do is get worse. I don't recommend it, but that was my strategy. And I thought, well, if it doesn't work, don't fix it. You know, that's what they say, I think. Isn't that in the Bible? I don't remember. Anyway, you're just going to keep on building things around like this. And there's my cat, right on cue, coming to scream in the background. Don't I love that? Don't I really love that? Yes, I do. So what we're going to do is try to pretend that his cries of woe and anguish are actually cries of joy, and that he enjoys being in the hallway and sticking his paws under the door and trying to claw his way in to my heart. But it's not going to work. I've built up these calluses so that I cannot be affected by human emotion. It's the way that I've learned to move forward and interact with society, and so far it's working well. Just let me finish. Once I finish sobbing, I can explain to you the exact nature of how that works. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of mixing it up here. I've got these brick walls, and we're just going to burn the shit out of them. And then we're going to take some junk walls, and we're going to place them in there. And it's going to be fine. And we're just going to test out different looks. As you go, make sure you are testing things to make sure they don't float. And also testing them to make sure what you're trying to do actually works. A large part of building is placing things down, then backing up and looking at it and realizing, oh my god, that isn't working at all. And that's exactly what you want to do in your own lives as well. Just take a big long look at it and be like, what is that? Because I thought it was fine, but really when I step back and look at it, self-awareness can be brutal, but it's always a key to success. Now, what we're going to do is take this junk fence and shove it inside this wall, and it's going to look good. I've already decided it will, even though I just said you should test stuff, put it down, and then look at it. The reason why it's different is because I'm actually in the future, and I already know what the whole thing looks like. But in reality, most people can't actually break through that barrier of time and advance into the next age. And honestly, you're not missing much. Somehow, I'm still managing to have anxiety, even when I know exactly what's going to happen in the future. So don't bother getting the looking glass. It's not really worth it. Anyway, I hope that everything I've just said is as meaningless to you as it was when I was saying it. Also, these things can't be used in this build because they won't go down on the rugs, and I believe if they did, they would probably float. You can use these if you don't have the junk walls. It will add more of a fort-like look to it, and as I didn't really want to use them because they're kind of too tall to kind of blend with the junk walls, and they look a little too military, and this I wanted to look kind of handmade. But these blend in really well with it, and also these rusted chain walls. Let's kind of scatter these around. This will kind of help blend the way in, because you don't want it to be super obvious. That's an added security measure, is not everyone who comes to your camp, because this will be really busy, you know, when there's queen fights and stuff. Not everyone that comes to your camp is going to automatically know how to get into your home, which is good. It gives you a little feeling of security, you know, that not everyone's going to be just traipsing around with their muddy, bloody boots, unless you want them to, which is fair. Sometimes it adds a nice little rustic touch to have someone else's infected blood all over your carpet. If you can't get something down on the edge, you can place it down usually and then drag it out. Some things on the carpet are finicky, and you have to place them and then move them before they'll go exactly where they want to. But this is simple enough, and then you can test it and make sure everything goes away, and then keep on building. The nice thing about these perimeter, or this defensive wall here, is it blends really well with a junk wall, and it looks like an extension of the junk wall, so it's a really cool feature to have, a really cool added touch. There were some places where I couldn't get a junk wall to go, and I just used the rusted chain link to cover the gaps, and it seemed to work pretty well. Again, testing, and you want to make sure, especially with some of the fences, because they will go down into the ground a little bit, that those are actually finding their support on the rug and not on the ground. Now with these boards, you can actually get them to sink deeper into wall objects if you create a blueprint, but you want to actually place it on the carpet and not under it, like I just did. Now create a blueprint with some floor item and then the wall thingy. And this one I'm going to call Wanky Walls, I believe, because that's what I called it on another character. And let's be consistent, right? So I can find my stuff. Now you can shove this deeper into stuff because of the blueprint. Like this, we can shove it inside that junk wall if we wanted to. But I don't know why we'd want to. I guess we do want to. So there's a little bit of wood sticking out there. You can shove it into places you wouldn't otherwise be able to. You can get it between things that you wouldn't normally be able to, because normally you'd just want to snap to the outermost thing. And this will allow you to shove it deeper inside. And I feel like the longer I talk about this, the worse it sounds. So maybe I'm going to stop doing that. But it can add a lot of nice texture to the outside of this structure, to a lot of these areas that have wood on them. You can kind of blend the boards with that scrappy metal, and it really adds a nice touch. You can add some boards sticking out. It's really nice. Let's make sure everything breaks. Now there are some times, like this time, I found, I did know this, but I completely forgot. For some reason, filing cabinets float, and so those are no-go for this build. There's a bunch of other stuff that floats too, and you don't really want to mess with that. Now, when you're done with most of the structure and it's time to decorate, I've already started decorating, but then I realized I should probably get things settled before things get too crazy. Remove any wires you have attached, because they'll act weird, and then try to grab that spike board, which you might have to go inside to do at this point, and then you can pick everything up. Every single thing is being picked up now. And you want to look up when you do this, because if you have that against the ground, it'll create a lot of lag, and it'll be hard to kind of place it where you want to place it. And that's why you should do this a little earlier than I did, because the fewer items are on this, the less laggy it's going to be. But now you're going to want to find the flattest spot you can to place it down. Again, it's really laggy. If you hold it up in the air while you move around, and then place it when you have a nice spot, it seems to work a little bit better. I recommend doing this a lot sooner than I did, because it was very difficult to place it with all the lag. Now, you can go around the outside edge and check, and this is actually pretty good. There is going to be places where the carpets are floating, but you want it to just be the majority of the outside is up against the wall, and then we can hide the floating areas later. Reattach any wires, and as you can see, because it's all one piece of rug, some of that rug will go under the ground there, and then we can cover up the rest by putting a wall of brambles around it, which you would have to go really up close to and look at to see. Make sure that's not too high up in the air so you can walk up on that carpet lip, and you're good to go. I'll look at that later and give it more detail, but for now, we're going to move into the tent, and I'll show you something that I had to do inside there. Now, because the ground kind of floops up, in some areas, as you can see, it's kind of deep. The dirt is really deep in here. And I wanted to have a kitchen in here, and I want it to look cleaner. The inside of this tent is where we live, and I wanted it to kind of, yes, I want it to look scrappy and immersive, but I want it to be kind of cozy too. So I wanted to create kind of an elevated floor area on this end where the dirt was the deepest, because again, because the carpets are under there, everything you place is going to snap down into those carpets and is going to sink down into that dirt. So this will kind of help us create that that cleanliness that we want. And it's a little too much to make the entire tent be covered in carpets. It does make the ceiling a lot shorter. And so right now what you're seeing here is I am making a measuring with the filing cabinet in the chest, and that will allow me to put this blueprint that I made of these stash boxes in a straight line across here up to the edge that I need it, so that it'll be lined up with where those carpets are going to be. Now the Helvetia carpet is the perfect size, but I don't want that design in here. It's too busy, and it's a repeating pattern next to each other will look kind of stupid. So I want to use one of those singular colored rugs, but the problem with it is that those are slightly wider than the Helvetia rugs, and that means we're going to have to do a little something special. Now you can get rid of all the extra foot lockers that are behind there. I just want the front edge to be like this. So once you can do that, place that in there, slap it in there. There you go. And sometimes, because of how the rugs are, some of these things will pop up in the air a lot more than the other things. And you can get rid of all this stuff. Now, I'm going to use this white, or it's actually beige, I'm sorry, square rug, which is actually not square, it is rectangular. I want to remind you that all rectangles, like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Now, I'm going to have them slightly like this, because this is as far to the edge as I can get it. And then because it's a lip like that, we're going to take this, and I've already burned this tent so that we can get in and out of here, because otherwise we have to use the cooking station, and we can't carry things in and out that way. So I burned the tent with the flame trap, and then I'm going to take this pressure plate, come outside with it. I have a temporary platform out here to work on. I'm going to place this down, place it once. That'll press the button in so that you don't have to depress it yourself. God knows you're depressing your own self enough, and you're doing that more so by watching my videos. Please place this down and then begin the drop merge, and you will have this perfectly flat beige square rug that isn't square and never has been. You can place this down inside here, and this will be our floor for the kitchen area. It's going to be great, and yeah, that's a good time. And that worked perfectly. And now I'm going to make a little, this is just a little kitchen cabinet thing. I took a safe, and I'm going to drop merge this into it so that it has drawers, but I can still use the basic size and top of it as the counter. And then we're going to bring this in and plop it down. It's really good size next to the stove and lines up pretty well. I'm actually going to go back in time and do this. I didn't want to bring that in yet, so I didn't. I actually used the time machine again. We're back out here. I never brought that in, and I'm going to place this on top of that. Perfectly acceptable, I think, and no one will care. And we'll go put this in here for the first time ever. We've never been in here before, and we've never placed this safe next to it. But let's look at the completed project, and I'll show you some things in detail. As you can see, when you go around it, there might be one or two spots where you might be able to see that some of the carpet is sticking up, but you kind of have to already know it's like that to see it. The brambles did a fantastic job at hiding it, and most of it is actually sunk down in more because of those rugs. So it actually looks very immersive. It looks very planted and rooted, which is what you want. And someone that walks up to this is hopefully going to think that it's kind of a in-game structure if you've been really meticulous with your decoration and your scrappiness. And at the very least, they're not going to think the whole thing's going to disappear at the flip of a switch. But as you can see, we've got a lot of scrappy stuff, a lot of little details on the outside to kind of sell that. Now you come on inside here. You can walk right up that carpet because it's not too high. And let's look inside. Very, very scrappy and a lot of clutter. That really brings everything to life. And as you can see, we have all the workbenches that we would want to use. And over here, we actually have, up these stairs, a little lookout tower area, obviously, pointed towards where the Scorched Beast fight will be. And then inside here, you can see we've got any bench, all the benches in the game that you would want. We have a little work area here for, you know, it's designed to look like someone has been sitting there and working at it. And it's not just utilitarian, but it's also realistic and immersive looking. And we can look at that a little bit later, but this is actually very easy to merge stuff underneath. You just burn it and you can place stuff down underneath there. But it looks like we've got piles of storage. It looks like someone lives here. It looks like someone's been using the workbenches. And we have this thing, which is very out of order. But I put in things that I would want to use, like this symptomatic, because you get the blight every 5 seconds that you look at a scorched. So you want to have that nearby if there's queen fights going on. You want to get your intelligence up for big mob boss fights. This was an accidental merge, and someone told me that I should probably redo it and do it a little bit better now that I know what it does. But she's not my real dad, so I ignored her, and I'm not doing that, actually. And over here, we have the little guard area. So you come in, this wall deflects you away from where the living area is. The guard guy sits there. His name is Gary. He killed this man and put the bones in there. It's kind of like a new composting project he has for school. That's fine. Over here, garbage, and then of course, Mr. Bottles, or whatever the goddamn fuck his name is. I don't know, and I'm not going to get some kind of copyright infringement by doing his voice or whatever. Now inside here, we have the coziest vibes that you could ask for inside a tent, and I think that's mostly in part because of how big we were able to make it. It doesn't look like a tent anymore. It just feels like a nice little cozy place to live. We've got a place to sleep, and you know, the bunk beds that only one person can sleep in, and this little nice couch area. We have a place to watch TV, and we have, you know, this is a little classic looking area, pianos and things like that. Inside here, we have a pile of junk. Junk piles help sell the fact that someone's living there and they own things. Look around your house, you own stuff. You might have stopped noticing it was there, but you own it, and you have it, and it's cluttering up your house, and you should probably go clean it up and maybe find what really sparks joy. I haven't. I'm actually broadcasting to you live from a pile of a giant fire hazard called the dump, which is also called my room. This is a nice little kitchen area, very simple but effective, little reading nook. And over here you can actually sit here and kind of look down at your whole place. Well, actually you can't. Sometimes if you try to sit in a chair or use something and you can't, what instead will happen is you will get stuck there, and you can only shoot your weapon and move around, or look around. You can't move, and you can't open your Pip-Boy, but that's okay because you don't need to. Let's use this moment to kind of just drink in the whole vibe of it. And while we wait for a response from server, I hope you just really can enjoy soaking in these cozy vibes that we have here. I drop merged those little Nuka-Cola bottle lamps into the table so they'd look like Nuka-Colas. And you can see outside, I kind of covered up some of the windows by piling up junk out there. And then to get out, you come over here and use the cooking station on this side, and you're out of there. Now, this was a really fun build, and let's stand up here and kind of get a good look of just how junky it is. Over here we have, in this space, piled up old appliances. The idea is the person living here uses this junk as part of the wall to fortify their own home. And I think it makes a lot of sense that someone would do that, and I think it actually adds a lot when you look in those cracks and nooks and crannies. But let's see it disappear now at the flip of a switch. Let's say you use your things and now you want to fight the queen. You don't want someone blocking off your camp spot. You flip this switch. You don't want the Scorch to kill it. It all goes away. It's gone. But your camp is still here, so someone can't block your spot, so you can bring it back in whenever you need to use it. You don't have to worry about someone taking it. You don't have to worry about the cooldown between switching your camp to another one and then switching it back. You can access this over here to repair it, or you can run right up to this. Everything here, 1 wood to repair. And then it comes back in. We're going to watch it load back in. There's your whole camp. Just as immersive, just as built up as it was before. And no one can destroy it. No one can do any damage to it. Nothing can be destroyed on it as long as that spike board trap is triggered. Nothing will be here to be destroyed. The brambles don't have health bars. These little wires hanging around, they don't get destroyed. And nothing can be done to it. So you can fight the queen, and then once all the carnage is over, you can run back over here, repair it if you need to get into your stash box. You can actually use this transfer button right here on your camp button, and you can just use that without having to load in your camp, or you can just repair it for 1 wood. Then you have your whole camp back here. Very immersive. It looks like you live here, but it's also useful. It's also utilitarian for Scorch Beast Queen fights, and just for living in a very dangerous part of the map. It can be very helpful to have. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, maybe a comment. You could tell me how my beard looks, and maybe consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out, and I do appreciate it. Thank you so much to my patrons and my channel members for your support. I really appreciate it. I do stream on Twitch if you guys want to watch that more often, me being stupid. I will see you in the next video.